Hi, welcome to this new video where I'm going to be talking about the Titans and how the game relates to the original mythology. Now I just want to preface this by saying that Greek mythology is made up by dozens of authors over millennia, so different accounts and different information can be found about different people. So I've gone with what I believe is kind of the closest kind of chronology and timeline and what I think fits best for the stories. Now if you like this, I'll do similar videos for the gods, for monsters, for heroes, and maybe something about the troops as well. So please let me know, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. So what we've got here is all of the Titans that we receive in the game. So we've got Typhon, Kronos, Enceladus, Atlas, and Gaea. So what I want to first of all do is, well actually very quickly, I want to say a big thank you to a few of the guys that have sent me messages about how I can fix my Atlas miniature. When I received it, it was horribly bent. But I've had some help from the community on Facebook, as well as on some private messages I've received, and I've actually done the hot water trick with this about 6 or 7 times, and I think it's gonna hold this time. So thank you very much for everyone who helped with that. So moving on, the first thing we need to do is, when we're talking about Titans, we need to get rid of some of these miniatures that aren't Titans, just to kind of scale it back to the history. Typhon, not a Titan. He's a monster. Enceladus, not a Titan, he's a giant. And Gaea, we're going to keep there. Let's get rid of these guys that are actually Titans anyway. So, Gaea. In the beginning, in Greek mythology, there was chaos. So chaos was the only entity that there was at the very beginning. Now, chaos gave birth or brought into existence a number of different things, like the ideas of night and darkness and light. But the first kind of personification of anything real and tangible was Gaia, the earth. So Gaia, first of all, gave birth to 2 children. There was Uranos, the sky, and Tartarus, the kind of underworld. So Gaia and Uranos gave birth to, first of all, a race called the Hecatoncheires. Now the Hecatoncheires were disgusting, they were horrible. They had 100 arms, 100 legs and 100 heads. Gaia loved them, but Uranos hated them, so he cast them down to Tartarus. Their next children, which were the Cyclopes, or Cyclops, again, Uranos did not like them at all, so they were cast aside. Their next set of children were the first generation of Titans, so chiefly Kronos. Now, they had a number of Titan children, and Gaia, in her hatred of Uranos, because of what he'd done to the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires, went through all of her children to see who would help to overthrow Uranos. And the only person who would help, and the last person she asked, was Kronos. So that laid waste to Uranos. And a little bit of information actually. When Kronos overthrew Uranos, he sliced off his genitals, which is pretty grim. And when he flung them away, they landed in the sea, and they foamed and fizzed, and they brought life to one thing, and that was Aphrodite. So in terms of what we perceive as being Olympian gods, she was kind of one of the first that came along. Anyway, so we've got Kronos there. So he's the son of Gaia and Uranos. Now, he had lots of brothers and sisters, but they're not in the game, so we're not going to worry about them. The other Titans that are in the game are Atlas, Atlas was the son of Iapetus, who was a Titan, and Clymene, who was an Oceanid. Oceanid is they are a race of sea nymphs and Titans, to be fair. But kind of the word Titan, just to step back a bit, it basically means straining one. So all of the Titans, or most of them, had a specific task that was assigned to them, and we'll get back to those afterwards. So we've got Atlas, and he was a real kind of chief in the war and the Titanomachy, which we'll come to in a minute. Other actual Titans in the game are Prometheus. He was a Titan, but he was also a friend to the Olympian gods, and we'll come back to that in a minute. We have Helios. He was the son of Titans. His parents were Hyperion and Thea, so they were both first generation Titans as well. And finally, there's a little bit of a contention here, but Hecate. So she's mainly seen as a god, but I don't know why, because both her parents were Titans. She preceded the Olympian gods, so I can't see any reason whatsoever why she would be why she'd be a god and not a Titan. So if we look at her miniature, you've got the 3 heads there. Yeah, sorry. That is because she was the Titan goddess of the crossroads. So she's got heads facing all directions in order to see all areas of the crossroads. So the only kind of titanic task that she had was that she used to travel with Persephone down to Hades twice a year. So she'd go down to Hades with Persephone and then go back to collect her later on when she was doing her 6-month duty down in Hades. So that was kind of our only titanic task, because it was a long journey, but it's a bit of a contentious one there. The titanic task of Prometheus was that he had gone against Zeus's wishes and given mankind fire. Now, not only had he given them physical fire, so the ability to warm themselves and to create heat for blacksmith duties and various other things, so, but also lit the fire inside mankind, so give them their own ability to guide their own futures. So Zeus didn't like that one little bit, so he shackled Prometheus to rocks, and his titanic task was that daily he would have his liver eaten out by vultures. Helios, his titanic task was that every day it was his job to drive the chariots that carried the sun. So it was a 12-hour journey that he would drive the chariots which would drag the sun around the land and give us daylight. So that was seen as being a titanic task as well. Atlas did not hold the world up. He never did. He held the heavens up. He held the heavens against the earth, so the sky against the earth, which was previously work that was done by Uranus, which was initially inherited by Kronos and then by Zeus, but Zeus didn't want to handle that task, so he, as a punishment for Atlas's actions during the Titanomachy, the Titan War, that was his punishment afterwards. And Kronos, his punishment was to count time and infinity itself. So those are the Titans. Now I want to come back to some of the other characters because they are kind of classed as Titans in the game. So I just want to give you a brief bit of their history. So Gaea. Gaea's children, the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclopes, they were disgusting, they were hideous, but she loved them. And it was a mother's love, so she loved them completely. So when the Titanomachy came to pass, Kronos and his brothers and sisters and the other Titans set themselves against the gods. Now, because of the size and power of the Titans, the gods couldn't hope to win. It wasn't a fight they could win on their own. So they had help from Prometheus. Prometheus fought on the side of the gods because he'd had enough of the time of the Titans. But that wasn't enough as well. So what else would they need? Perhaps if Zeus was to travel down to Tartarus and ask the children of Gaea for their help, so the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclopes, maybe that would turn the tide, and it did. So because of their time in the heat, they would become good blacksmiths, so they had fashioned the thunderbolts that gods that Zeus could use, and that's what turned the tide. Zeus's thunderbolts won the war in the Titanomachy. So what was the big result for the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclopes? That helped Zeus win the war. The Titans were out of the picture. They weren't dead, but they were removed from what was going on. So did Zeus release them? Did he give them their freedom? No. Straight back down to Tartarus. They were too hideous, they were too disgusting. He didn't want them on the earth. So Gaea, pissed off and upset at what happened to her firstborn children, decided that she was going to bring her own race to challenge the gods. So she gave birth to the giants, of which Enceladus was he fought in the war of the giants versus the gods, the Gigantomachy. So he chiefly fought with, I believe, Athena, and he fought well. Now, obviously, the giants didn't win that war. They lost, and they were sent down. They were buried in Tartarus. So Enceladus specifically was buried under Mount Etna, and has been blamed ever since for volcanoes and earthquakes in the area. So Gaea, the Hecatoncheires have failed. They're in the underworld. So the Cyclopes, and now so the Gigantes. Maybe one last roll of the dice. What could she do to overthrow the gods and get her children back into power? She'd had children with Uranos, that were the Titans. She had mothered her own children, and those were the giants, to no avail. So what other primordial entity was there that she could mate with to perhaps bring along something that could win the war? So her first or second son, Tartarus, she bore a child by him that was hideous and enormous and the most terrifying monster of Greek mythology, Typhon. So could Typhon defeat the gods? Could he overthrow Zeus for control of the cosmos? He went. I believe that all of the other gods fled in fear. Typhon was enormous. He was so tall that his head brushed against the stars. He caused earthquakes when he walked. He tried to capture Zeus. He tried to kill Zeus. Zeus evaded him for a long period of time, and eventually his thunderbolts felled Typhon, and he was gone. So that was the last kind of fight that Gaea put up against the gods, and again it failed. So those are the Titans and kind of the other miniatures that appear in the box for Rise of the Titans, as well as a few that have come along as well, and maybe this one. I think she's a Titan, but it's up to you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be doing another video soon when we'll be looking at the gods, a similar type of video, going through some of their history and their past. And if that goes well and people like it, please let me know, and I'll do another one for the heroes. So and maybe another one for the monsters, but we'll see how it goes. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you later. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. It was very much off the cuff. I didn't do much preparation for it. So yeah, it was quite relaxed in terms of how it was cut together and that kind of thing. I hope you enjoyed it. But if you want more, let me know and I'll do more. So if you liked it, please like and subscribe, and I shall catch you soon.